And welcome to the Road Reaction Postgame Show. I'm Jonathan Santiago. Flying solo tonight. James Ham is unavailable to be with me. He has prior engagements, but I will be recapping tonight's Sacramento Kings Dallas Mavericks matchup here. The Sacramento Kings falling to the Dallas Mavericks 103-100 in 4 quarters. Tough fought game by the Sacramento Kings. Great night by Ray McCallum, playing every single minute of the game. In fact, I'll start you off with a stat of the night here. Ray McCallum passes Kenny Smith for most minutes played by a Kings rookie over 3 games. He played 137 total minutes in his last 3 games. The previous mark was set by Kenny the Jet Smith, 136 minutes, I believe, in 1987. So Ray McCallum, not only did he play every single minute tonight, he did have a very solid game. Shooting could be much better, but at the same time, he is a rookie. And to play that many minutes in a contest, big time for Ray McCallum. So let's get to our 3 things to watch, and we start with point number 1. Can Rudy Gay bounce back from a lackluster performance? And Rudy Gay, he did have a pretty good game tonight. He led the Kings in scoring with 30 points on 11 of 19 shooting, 7 rebounds, but he did have 7 turnovers. Now, it is worth noting with Rudy, he did have a fantastic second half for the Sacramento Kings, where he really came alive for the Kings. 19 of his 30 points in the second half, 7 of 11 shooting, 7 rebounds, but a big number or no-no on the stat side for Rudy Gay. 4 turnovers for Rudy. Much better than the game that he had last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He finished 3 of 11 from the field with just 7 points in the loss. So today, good game for Rudy Gay, but obviously not enough for the Sacramento Kings, who lose 103-100 to the Dallas Mavericks. We move on now to point number 2. Will Ben McLemore get to the free throw line? An interesting stat. The last game that Ben McLemore played yesterday was the first time in 6 games that Ben had actually gotten to the free throw line. He hadn't gotten to the free throw line since a March 12th game against the Philadelphia 76ers. And tonight, Ben McLemore gets to the free throw line 1 time. So he's gotten to the free throw line again tonight. He did play a solid game, I thought, for the Sacramento Kings. He finished with 10 points. He really seemed to come alive a little bit more in the second half with 6 points, 6 of those 10 points on 2 of 3 shooting, 1 of 1 from the 3 from behind the 3-point arc. So Ben McLemore coming alive, playing 33 minutes. To have a pretty decent game, not a huge game, but it was a game that the Kings needed in terms of production for the shooting guard position. Now, conversely, while we're talking about rookie guards, let's go ahead and touch on Ray McCallum, who had a pretty good night, as I mentioned, playing 48 minutes, every single minute. Isaiah Thomas did not play again tonight. His 3rd straight game missed with the right quad injury. And Ray McCallum finishing with a career high in assists with 8, career high in points with 16, and also, limited the turnovers. Only had 2 turnovers for the Sacramento Kings. So that was a pretty nice number for Ray there to have a good game. Unfortunately, one aspect that we see in Ray McCallum right now is just the inability right now to make a jump shot. And tonight he goes 7 of 17 from the field, and that's not what you want out of your starting point guard. Now, if Ray could hit a jumper, he keeps defenses honest. But unfortunately, that is just an aspect of his game that we've seen be creaky here in his first year. And we'd like to see if it can improve going into year 2. But, Ray getting a huge opportunity here with Isaiah Thomas out, playing major minutes for the Sacramento Kings in these last 3 games. And there's no word yet if Isaiah will be available on Monday versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Right? Michael Malone has said that they're in no rush to bring Isaiah Thomas back because, hey, they're not playing for anything. And it's better off not risking his health or jeopardizing his health just to get a couple more wins here in a season that is not being measured based on wins and losses. So again, Ray McCallum, nice game for the Sacramento Kings, 16 points and 8 assists there. Let's move on now to point number 3. Can the Kings snap a 19-game losing streak in Dallas? That did not happen tonight. They actually fall again. The Kings now have not won in Dallas since February 27th, 2003. You got to look at the starting lineup for the Sacramento Kings there. Peja Stojakovic, Mike Bibby, Doug Christie, Chris Webber, Vlade Divac, and Bobby Jackson coming off the bench, and Keon Clark, the hero, in a 126-124 win in overtime against the Dallas Mavericks, the last time the Sacramento Kings won there. Even look at the Dallas Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki is the only player left from that roster. Michael Finley, Rafe LaFrentz, Steve Nash, Raja Bell, Nick Van Axel, Walt Williams, and Sean Bradley. Those guys are no longer with the Dallas Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki is the only one remaining, and in that game he had 36 points and 13 rebounds. Tonight for the Dallas Mavericks, Dirk finished with 19 on 5 of 10 shooting, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. Pretty solid all-around effort for Dirk. Really the guy who was carrying the Mavericks most of the night was Samuel Dalembert, the former King, finishing with 15 points on 7 of 8 shooting. The alley-oop finish from the Jose Calderon pass, with about, I think, 40 seconds left in that game, was pretty much the nail in the coffin for the Sacramento Kings. But again, Samuel Dalembert pretty much having DeMarcus Cousins has a bounce-back night a little bit, but does not finish with a double-double again. It's been rare that we've seen Cousins not finish with double-doubles, but tonight DeMarcus finishes with 17 points on 8 of 15 shooting, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Battled foul trouble once again. That's been an issue these last 2 games, back-to-back against the Thunder and Mavericks. Obviously, when DeMarcus is in foul trouble, he is just pretty ineffective, and the Kings, for the most part, were able to rally without him. They had a tough first half there, being outscored by the Mavericks, but at the same time, you kind of got the sense as you watched this game that the Sacramento Kings were just a couple possessions away from climbing back in this one, because at halftime, I believe both teams had shot exactly 42 shots. But the Sacramento Kings had made 3 fewer baskets than the Dallas Mavericks. And again, as I said, if you get a couple possessions, a couple defensive possessions going your way, you're right back in this game. And that's exactly what they did. They rallied in the third quarter. They outscored the Mavericks 28-18 to come back in the quarter after halftime. Giving you some of these final numbers here from that third period. They shot 11 of 15 from the field, 73%. In the Dallas Mavericks, they held them to 38.9% shooting and 7 of 18 shooting from the field. Again, to really come back in this game, and they didn't lead in this game until the fourth quarter. The Dallas Mavericks had the lead in this game pretty much throughout until the fourth period, where the Kings wound up taking, I believe it was like an 81-80 lead late in the fourth. Dallas had led by 17 points at one point during this game, but the Sacramento Kings showing some resiliency, and it's nice to see that, considering that it is the second game in 2 nights, and you're still playing without your starting point guard, one of your 3 best players in Isaiah Thomas. You're going up against a playoff team, a team that's fighting for its life to make the Western Conference playoffs. They needed this game, and they played them tough. So you got to give the Sacramento Kings credit for playing a tough game tonight against the Dallas Mavericks in this one. And I want to also mention the bench for the Sacramento Kings was solid, particularly Jason Thompson. You see that he finishes with 11 points on 5 of 7 shooting, 5 rebounds for the Sacramento Kings. Derek Williams coming back, didn't have a great night, only played 10 minutes, 4 points, but his presence was much needed, considering last night Travis Outlaw was playing a bunch of the minutes at shooting guard and small forward for the Sacramento Kings because of the illness that sidelined Derek. And so again, good night for Jason Thompson with 11 points and 5 rebounds. Reggie Evans, what can you say about that guy? He's He's been, a vacuum cleaner on the glass, you could say. Finishes with a game-high 18 boards for the Sacramento Kings, and that's why you brought him here. You brought him here to do exactly that, the dirty work. And with DeMarcus out, somebody needed to pick up the slack on the glass, and clearly Reggie Evans made up difference for what the Kings were missing with DeMarcus Cousins battling foul trouble again for much of the night. All right, player of the game. I mean, I will give it to Samuel Dalembert. As I said, he was really the guy who was terrorizing the Kings for the Dallas Mavericks most of the night. Dirk Nowitzki came on strong to finish the Mavs and finish leading this game for the Mavs in scoring with 19 points. But Samuel Dalembert was a guy who really took it to his former team. Again, 15 points on 7 of 8 shooting. Nothing to write home about, but when you look at the fact that he only played 24 minutes tonight, huge output, efficient output by the former Sacramento Kings center against his old squad. So Samuel Dalembert, to me, getting the player of the game. A couple other notes acknowledging that Monte Ellis, that the Mavs actually had five of their starters all in double figures tonight. As I mentioned, Dirk Nowitzki leading the way. Monte Ellis, 17 points on 5 of 12 shooting with 6 assists, 2 steals. Jose Calderon making things happen. And they finished with 28 assists to just 12 turnovers. The Sacramento Kings, again, tough night. It's been tough for them, here in this later stage of the season, finishing with 17 assists to 18 turnovers. That's not something that I'm sure Michael Malone is too pleased about. But again, to be able to limit the Dallas Mavericks in that second half, really come strong and limit the Mavs to 40% shooting, that's the number that I think Michael Malone wants to see, knowing that he's trying to make this a defensive-minded squad. And the Kings getting their offense going in that second half, 58% shooting. So, unfortunately, more turnovers than assists, but the defense was there for the Sacramento Kings tonight in the second half, and that's really what got them back in this game. So, again, hat tip to them. Tough game against a tough opponent that is playing for something, whereas the Sacramento Kings are just kind of vying for lottery position at this point. And on a related note, Arizona, I believe, losing to Wisconsin in the Elite Eight. And, Mark Spears, our friend at Yahoo Sports, reporting that Aaron Gordon, the standout freshman for the Arizona Wildcats, likely to declare for the NBA draft. And he's a player to watch if you're when we go into draft season. Sacramento Kings. This game kind of reminds me a lot of Joakim Noah in terms of his selflessness on the basketball court, his length, his ability to block shots and to get rebounds. So that's some other news in the college world happening there. But back to the Sacramento Kings, losing to the Dallas Mavericks 103-100. And we'll be back. Want to remind everybody, we'll be back on Monday when the Sacramento Kings take on the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans, the last game of this 3-game road trip for the Sacramento Kings. And tip-off is at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time from the Smoothie King Center. So again, the Sacramento Kings falling to the Dallas Mavericks 103-100. And we'll be back on Monday. So for James Ham, my partner in crime who is not here tonight, I'm Jonathan Santiago. Thank you for tuning in to the Road Reaction postgame show here on CowbellKingdom.com.